My brothers and sisters, welcome to Knowing the Way. I'm your host, Minister Greg, and thank you for tuning in to this very special episode of we series that we call For All My Brothers, where I share my conversations with men of God who are making a difference in the local church and in our community. Our series is inspiring interviews with godly men, and our topic today is men and finances. And I have with me the doctor of debt free, Mr. Jesse Gathewright. Jesse is married to his wonderful wife, Lisa, and he's also the founder and director of Financial Destiny Incorporated, a nonprofit agency devoted to increasing financial skills of individuals and families and purpose to decrease the financial stress that can lead to subprime living. Jesse is a member of the National Association of Certified Credit Counselors, where he works with local churches and other agencies to create and implement such financial literacy programs like Money Boot Camp, Financial Freedom Classes, and Young Christian Millionaires. You can catch the show of Empowered to Prosper, where Jesse is the host, from on Mondays from 11 to 11:30 on 107 FM, or you can log on to WLJF Radio from the Love and Faith Christian Fellowship website at loveandfaith.org. Jesse's knowledge of credit building and money matters has helped many individuals and families, such as myself, to gain good success in their finances and achieve a better quality of life. Jesse, thank you for joining us today, and we really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me, Brother Boyd.
All right, I'm going to open with our guiding scripture, which I found in Luke chapter 14, verse 28. This is the New Life Version. It says, "But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there's enough money to finish it?" And one thing I've learned over the years is that sometimes we jump into things without counting the cost, without adding it up to see how much it's going to take to not only purchase and acquire a thing, but to maintain that thing. So you're always looking at what's it going to cost to get it, but you forget to look at what it's going to cost to keep it. So, and Jesse, I know that you're good with finances, good with money, and I think this is something that men especially need to hear because I can speak for experience. There were times when I let my pride allow me to be a poor financial steward. Wouldn't just would not share pertinent information with my wife, wouldn't uh, talk about the money, just taboo subject. Hey, the man makes the money, he brings it home. What is that old saying? Bring home the bacon fried up in a pan. I mean, that's what I would do. So, and learning a lot, had to learn how to drop my pride, check my ego at the door. So, my first question for you,
Absolutely.
my friend, is how long have you been working in credit and finances?
Wow, over 20 years, probably getting closer to 30.
Wow. So, what made you want to help others become financially free?
Well, before I got started, I was living at home and found myself in a huge amount of debt and I didn't have guidance and
Mm,
end up speaking to someone that advised me to file bankruptcy. I wish they would have told me to get off my rusty dusty and pay these bills off, but they offered me a carrot and I took it, and it was the worst decision I ever made. I
mm,
don't knock anybody, that files bankruptcy, but there is a better way.
right. Now, I was looking up some information about money and how men and women handle money, and it says now in terms of dollars, men tend to save more, but often neglect their credit. Why is it important for a man to have a good credit history?
Well, first of all, having a good credit score and a great credit history puts thousands of dollars back into your pocket
Mm,
from anything you do financially. If you have a good report, a good score, you're going to save right off the bat. And it also avails you the opportunity to get more credit as needed. So, you're saving money and you're less of a risk to the lenders as well. So you're more apt to be approved.
okay.
Uh,
S- So with that in mind, Jesse, I mean, and like we were just talking earlier, it's that idea that, and you're right. I wasn't really taught about credit and the importance of it, and how what a valuable tool it is. But just like any tool, if used improperly, you do more harm than good. And you guys have
Absolutely.
mentioned in the financial freedom classes about having our toolbox and how there are different things that we can do to help ourselves get a better credit score, better credit history. And I speak for men because we work a lot, but sometimes we don't have anything to show for it except a tired body and a lot of complaints. I mean, and then you can achieve some nice things, but what are you doing to get it?
Absolutely.
How hard are you having to work to get it? And there's nothing wrong with working hard, but there's also a thing called working smart. So I guess my question is, what's some of those ways that you could work smart to build your credit?
Well, and you're right. As me as a man, we have a tendency to just work, work, work. Uh, the major reasons why a lot of businesses fail and a lot of marriages fail is because we can do the mechanics, but we don't know how to manage.
Mm,
Um, Most businesses fail for poor management. We won't take the time to find the best way to manage the finances that we actually spend all that time making. You know, and my biggest challenge is to slow men down to really see what's going on around them.
okay. And that's important because you can get anxious, and you get a promotion on the job, or you might get a large bonus, and the first thing you're thinking about is pleasing yourself because you worked hard, you feel like you earned it, somebody finally recognized you and what you do on the job. And the last thing I can speak for myself, and there were times when the last thing on my mind was thinking, put it aside for a rainy day. The last thing.
Right.
And I take it you've run into that a lot with some of the classes and things that you've done where you've talked to men for the first time.
Absolutely. The biggest challenge I think I have with men and women is paying themselves. You
Mm,
know, for some reason that we would be a better payer than we'll say for ourselves. We think that life is going to continue. There won't be any rainy days, but we know that they're going to come, and when they come, most of the time we're not ready. So you have to be disciplined on how to really put something aside for rainy days.
and
It's
discipline.
definitely going to rain.
Yeah, absolutely. And discipline is a very key term because it is lacking. If you don't have it in you to put aside when you get it, just put something to the side when you get paid. And like you said, pay yourself. If you don't have it in you to do that, if it's not your habit, then you can think it all day long. But then when it comes time to execution, it doesn't get done. So another question, studies have shown that men know more about investing because they show more interest in it. But how can a brother recover from bad money decisions or poor financial decisions?
Well, the good thing about America, we are a forgiving country. You can always begin again, but the key to it is not to make the same mistake twice. One of the things I run up against is erroneous information given by family members, salespeople, people that are not professional, giving advice about how to handle money.
Right.
The worst advice you want to get is from a salesperson. Believe me.
Yeah, I imagine so. And you really don't want to think this way, but you can't help but feel like a salesperson is thinking commission. And
Oh, absolutely.
and I'm gonna tell you what I think you want to hear that benefits me in the long run as the salesman, as the sales guy.
Right.
And you've come across it so many times out there when you buy a car or anything that you might purchase that involves a salesperson where you have to have direct interaction. Is there? I can't. I haven't met one that hasn't told me that it's doable, whatever they're trying to sell me. And then I tell them my income or I tell them where I am financially, and they say, but it's doable. And they've always got something. They've always got a way. There's always a package waiting for
Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, like you say, their own commission, so they're under the gun to meet the numbers.
you. Mm,
So and most of the time you get bad information, but you'll get what you want. You know, anytime you'll stand in line for a $1,200 phone, knowing that you're going to actually leave with one, they're going to find a way to get it, then that's pretty much a red flag. In the cold, in the morning, you're in a line outside a building for a
Early.
$1,200 phone. I can't call any names, but
and you know what's funny about that, man, is that speaks to our spending mentality, because you will have people that are those same people in those same lines will complain about having to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning, but they'll stand in the line at 2 o'clock in the morning
yep,
for an hour, not one,
yeah,
hours, just to get
yep,
that thing that they want.
just to get it. The marketing has really overwhelmed them, and not only do they want it, they think they need it. And you know they have a term called it. They call it consumer. You know, pretty much you consume upon your own lust. You convince yourself you have to have it by any means necessary, and that's how a lot of times that's how we get in trouble as men. Now, not only do we want it, we want to give it to our spouses and our children, thinking that's actually the right way. And then when life happens, we're stuck.
Yeah. And then it turns, because now you're not a good steward in the eyes of the spouse. Now you're just wasting money, even though you had good intentions.
Right.
But the end result turned out to be a negative.
And Brother Gray, that's one of the reasons I've spent my last years, or all my years, really trying to re-educate people on how they should be better stewards. See, in Deuteronomy, it tells us that God doesn't give us wealth; He gives us the power to get wealth.
Right.
And in order to achieve that, you have to do it through stewardship. You have to stop owning and allow Him to be the owner, and you be just a manager. So that speaks volumes, because when you actually can manage what He's entrusted to your hand, you'll have everything. Like you said in Matthew, seek first the kingdom. You seek the kingdom, you'll find out what the secrets are to getting the things you need. Not only will He give you that, He'll give you more, because He's a multiplier.
Absolutely. So when He adds together, it multiplies. And when we do our part and He does His part, bam, there's more than enough. So those
Absolutely.
are good points. And you're right. We do have a tendency to consume upon ourselves. And I don't know, I can speak for myself. There are times when I just did it because I wanted to feel good for a moment. And then I realized I did feel good for a moment.
For a moment.
Then that moment left.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I was right back where I was before I felt good. So
the bill didn't leave, but the moment left.
Exactly. So I had to learn that you don't want those intermittent moments where the highs and the lows are so close together. Because knowing, and you brought something up, knowing that I'm a good steward and having a good mentality and knowing that God's going to multiply it, that should be my motivation to do it His way, so that I can have moments of joy, not with the knowledge of having things, but with the knowledge of knowing there's an emergency fund and there's a rainy day fund, and then we still got plenty to live off of. So if something happens, and no, when something happens, because
Right.
like you said, it's gonna rain. It might not rain on my house, but I have daughters.
Right.
I've got family. I got a brother. I got brothers. I got a sister. I got a mom. So it may not happen in my house, but it's going to rain in my circle of influence. And what better way for me to be a blessing as a man than it's not necessarily about me. It's going to rain at your house. And then I can reach out and help you if I've got the
Absolutely.
reserve. And same for you. I might have to come knock on you and Lisa's door, and y'all might have to get me out the rain,
Right. There you go.
So,
Well, and that's why He blesses us with more than enough.
So we
So if you,
can, and it's not as the word said, to consume upon ourselves, but it's so we can be that blessing, because we don't have to be blood relatives. If we're born again, we're in the body of Christ. We're brothers and sisters in the spirit.
absolutely. And it doesn't have to be monetary. It could be time, talent, or resources. I
Absolutely
may not need your money, but I may need your resource.
right. That's right. Or I just may need, yeah, like you said, I might need your time. It's something I can't do on my own. Can you help me out? Now, I probably could help you, but because I owe so much, I had to pick up second job. So I gotta go to work. I can't help you
There
out.
you go.
But I would love to do it if I could. And it's not knocking
Yep.
anybody who works two jobs. I mean, but I don't think that's God's best for us,
No.
because it minimizes, it wears down our bodies, wears down our minds, and it minimizes the time that we could be spending showing love to one another.
Absolutely. I remember making a statement a while back. I said that I can effectively pray for you when I'm debt free.
Okay?
And people took it the wrong way. But, when I'm not going to God about being overhead in debt and being consumed with that, when I don't owe anybody, he says, owe anybody anything but love. He meant it. He was like, I know what's going to happen when you do. So if you don't owe anybody, you're free to pray like you really want to. And not only can I pray for you, I can pray for others.
Absolutely, that's right. And that burden of me wanting to get relief for myself is gone, and I can pray, and knowing what that's like, I can pray that for somebody else. I can go to God and
Absolutely.
say, God, you show me what it's like not to have that over my head. I'm praying it for this brother. I'm praying it for that sister, because I know the feeling. You've blessed me that I can know it, and I know it brings joy. I know it brings peace. So I'm praying for them, and and in that prayer, like you said, God may say, Greg, use one of your resources to help them out. He might use you to say, go over there and help them out. You've got it. I gave it to you. Go over there and help them out,
Right.
because you're a steward anyway. It don't it don't belong to you anyway.
Right.
So take
Right. Right.
take what you stored for me over there and help.
And it could be seeds that you plant to get more of your harvest. I
Right.
mean, you never know.
And that's true. It's walking by faith and being obedient, because we don't know what the one thing that we do, the one seed that we sow, we don't know what it's going to produce. But we're not. Our mission is not to figure out what's coming out of the ground. Our mission is just
Right.
to sow, and
Right. Absolutely.
what comes from it is up to God, because we're sowing what He tells us to.
Absolutely.
So, got something else here, Jesse. Even though men are more likely to run into problems with debt, they're less likely to seek help dealing with it. What's the biggest challenge that you faced in getting men to buy into any type of financial discipline?
Pride. So you have to meet men where they are. You know, I'm going to soften you up because I'm going to find out what kind of sports team that you like, and we're going to talk about that before we get into that the intimate personal thing called finances.
Right.
You know, because when I talk to you about your finances, you may take it as I'm all up in your business and I'm looking at you negatively. So I'm find some positive ground to stand on that we can start to open this thing up. And I'm gonna compliment you for doing it, because it's hard, because you may feel like, well, I'm a failure for you, my wife,
Mm.
and my children.
Mm.
So, we overcome that by, making sure that they're comfortable talking to me.
Right. And that's key, because you're right, is you do have that hint of not meeting the muster, not really doing my job. And I believe we as men look at jobs too. We look at what we do as a job. Because we're old school, you and me. So that's what we were taught. Your family is like a job, because
Right.
you've got responsibilities and you've got expectations. There are things that you are supposed to do. You're supposed to protect. You're supposed to provide. You're supposed to lead in spiritual authority, or a spiritual manner. So you're supposed to make sure that I'm just going to say this for the sake of saying it, go to church. But of course, we know it's spiritual growth. But you're
Right.
supposed to be instrumental in implementing spiritual growth in your family. and
Right.
then you go to
Right.
work, and then whatever you do there, you may be a supervisor, you may be a CEO, you may just be a worker. But whatever you do, that's your job, that's your responsibility, that's what you're accountable for. And you're
Right.
right, is when you come up short in the finances, you do feel like you haven't done your job. And I think if more young people, young men would look at it with such responsibility and say, there's an expectation of me to get this done. And whoever gave me the expectation, whoever has the expectation, trusted me. And
Right.
it doesn't mean that if you don't get it right, you're a failure.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things you said something that struck a chord with me. Our generation of men are not training the generation under us, and you have to get to them early because they reach a point where you can't tell them anything,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to finances.
Yeah.
I run into it a lot, especially for young men that are kind of educated.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what they think they can get off the internet, but life has its own set of standards and information, and it will teach you a lesson. You know, but if you get to them early enough, they'll take heed. But our generation really has to cast out the net to get them because I have a nephew that didn't know how to rent an apartment, and we take a lot of things for granted. So I realize how much kind of work, the kind of work we need to do.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I was working with a young man. He's not with our job anymore, but we were, and he was probably about 23, 24, and he was mailing a letter. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was mailing out a letter to, I think, to the college he's going to because he was about to graduate. And he put the mailing address in the corner and the address to the receiver on the bottom in the bottom corner and asked us if it was right.
Wow.
The man had never mailed a letter before.
Wow. Ugh.
And I understand because you used to sending emails, you used to sending attachments and things like that, but it was
Right.
like somebody. But I mean, I really think this generation, because those are things that we still do. We still have the United States Postal Service. So
Right.
we need to sit down and say, hey, this is how you mail a letter. This is how you write a check. This is
Right.
everybody's using Cash App now, or they're using the card where it beeps and the money just transfers. And oh man, blew this young lady's mind one day. I know we're talking about guys, but blew this young lady's mind one day. Went to Chick-fil-A, me and Lily. Uh, my total was $2 and some change. I think it was $2.80, and she owed me. I gave her $10 bill. She gave me back. Man, I wish I could remember the whole thing for sure, but she gave me what I owed her. I gave her a bill and some change. She gave me what I owed her. Then she said, "Well, I
Wow.
owe her that back." I said, "No, sweetheart, I gave you what you owe me. You owe me even more." I mean, just
Wow.
it's but I get what you're saying about the finances, and you're right. Is we gotta catch them early. So let me ask you this: it's not one of the questions on my list, but is that what you do with young Christian millionaires? You try to catch them early.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We really try to teach them the basics. From, believe it or not, from etiquette. We included the etiquette. One of the most popular sessions we did was interviewing. And, I played a strict CEO for a Black engineering firm.
Okay.
And I taught young men how to shake hands and look a man in the eye. Little simple things like that, and how to dress. And, you definitely have to walk in with a tie and stand straight up. You can't be sagging in my presence. Things like that, that I thought they would have known or learned in school, but they didn't.
Yeah. It's oh boy, it's they actually need that in first grade because Lily's a teacher, and I can just remember some of those things being taught to us really early, not
Right.
necessarily classes for it, but it was just your interaction with educators. Is they spoke to you and told you, look me in the eye, look, keep your head up. I remember an old guy in the neighborhood told me that one time. I was walking, I had my head down. He said, "Hey, Don't ever keep your head down. Keep your head up. And, just that sort of thing. Look a man in the eye to eye, shake
Mhm.
hands, have a firm grip, that sort of thing. And it's missing, and it's so badly needed, because I think if you start there and being accountable and responsible and having confidence, then when you start to handle finances, you'll feel confident doing it. And confidence doesn't mean you get it right every time. It just means that if you make a mistake, you have enough gumption in you to you're willing to go and try it again and do it the right way and learn how to do it the right way. Like you said,
Right.
not make that same mistake.
Absolutely.
So, Jesse, what are some of the tools that you use to help men think about how they spend or save money?
I'm kind of old school. I don't interject um, electronics until later on. So we'll sit down and write a handwritten budget. That's when
Oh,
you get your blood, sweat, and tears rolling. I don't believe in miscellaneous. We account for everything. I want to know where the money is. Well, I want to know where all the dead bodies are. You know, why are you leaking holes? Where's all that money going?
right,
I'm not there to criticize, but once we find it, we can find where the mistakes are.
right.
We do that, and we talk about something we call vision robbers. Why are you spending $150 on a phone call? You know, um, why do you have $170 cable bill and you only watch 12 channels every night, if that?
If that, yeah. If you're even home long enough to watch those
Exactly,
12.
because you're working two jobs.
Right. Wow. But I mean, but it makes perfect sense. And you're right. I think we need to go back to some of those ways, because it's something that you don't lose. It's something that you can always keep in mind, and it helps build you and build your character. So,
Absolutely.
so Jesse, give us an understanding of riches and wealth from a kingdom perspective.
Well, again, Deuteronomy talks about God give us the power to get wealth. That's profoundly different than God is going to give me $1 million. See, if I know how to get wealth, I always be wealthy.
Right.
Especially if I'm actually stewarding in the kingdom. I'm seeking His will for my life in finances, and it really gets in detail, because He talks about, before you can believe me for healing, you need to believe me for finances. You
Right.
need to be a tither
Right.
and a giver. See, if you can't believe me to give that tenth, how can you believe me to heal you of a serious disease? So, that's really the secret of starting with the small things, you know, look, I can't handle my finances, God. I'm a man, I'm prideful. So I need to get rid of all that. Show me how to handle my finances. Help me find wise counsel so we can do this thing the right way. Because I want to be a good steward.
And that's so true. And you're right, when you gotta drop your pride and ask for help. And I understand better as well as anybody that can be tough. And and you just gotta bite the bullet and do it, because it's gonna benefit you and your loved ones in the long run. It's gonna make you a better steward. And there's no harm in saying I don't know a certain thing, and or I'm not good at handling this, or I need help with this. It's just not, there's no harm in it. And the truth is, it's more harm in not saying it and getting the help you need, because then it's a snowball effect. That thing that's bad just starts getting worse.
And let me just say this, Brother Greg. One of the challenges I run into is my wife handles the finances, and that's fine. But what happens if your wife go down?
Right.
What are you going to do then?
Right.
You
That's
know, my wife handles the finances too, but best believe I know how.
yeah. If push comes to shove, yeah. Something is nothing's gonna go lacking if something happens to her.
Absolutely. So, I try to get men to understand, yeah, that's great that she does, but you need to know how to, so you can stay on the same page, be on one accord, have that same vision. Because if you don't have the same vision, there's going to be division, and that's going to be a problem when you have two visions for your finances.
Yeah, absolutely. And because one will always try to take the lead. And that's what it
Absolutely.
does. It's going to point you down the road one's going to be going this way and one's going to be going that way. And because you got two different visions, it looks like you're going together, but you're actually on separate paths. So that's so true. But Jesse, we're going to end this on a good note. Please share a testimony of someone that's had good success coming out of one of your financial literacy programs.
Absolutely. It's been a couple of years back. I was working with a man and his wife, and the wife kept telling the husband, I want to buy a home. I'm tired of renting. And they've been renting all their lives in their late 40s. And he just kept saying, we can't afford a home. Our family has never had a home. And so she convinced him to come. That's generally how it works.
Yeah, right.
And, we sit down and we grinded it out. This particular couple was spending $240 on a cell phone bill. Their, rationale was, this is a family plan. But, by the time I finished, I showed them that was over $3,000 for a couple of phone calls for your family. It was really, at the end of the day, you're giving your money to a phone company and you're making a phone call. I don't care what that phone does. At the end of the day, it's still a phone. But, we looked at every line, and we literally, at the end of that budget, came up with almost $1,200 of savings, which, in 6 months, they were able to put down on a down payment for a home, because we also build their credit by paying things off, paying them the right way. And we teach you how to pay the bills the right way, because there's a way to pay them and a way not to pay them. And about 8 months later, they were in their home for the first time.
Wow, that's just great. And you're right, it's those little things like that you think you need and think you can't live without, and you'll find out that you can minimize a lot of things now to get the things that are really necessary later.
Absolutely.
I don't think that a family plan is more important than a home.
Right.
That's a real family plan right there.
Absolutely. That's a real family plan that builds wealth.
Absolutely. That's right. That builds wealth. Well, Jesse, man, ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. Jesse, I appreciate all your insight and expertise, man. I really believe this is going to be a blessing to some brothers and some sisters too. What I found is that the ladies are looking at the videos and sharing them with their men friends. So thank you for your time, my brother. And everything is going to be sent out. And I really think it's going to help a lot of people.
Oh, good. Glad to be a help, bro.
So Jesse, one more thing, and that's it. If anybody wants to live debt-free and invest in your services, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. You can contact me at J, in my last name, GATHEWRIGHT, the number 1 at gmail.com. That's jgathright1@gmail.com. You can call me at 336-423-6052. That's my personal cell. And yeah, absolutely. Love to work with you. We do a lot of workshops and seminars in the community. You want to jump in on one of those, starting one in January with Step Up Ministries. We'd love to have you. And we kind of break down all the things we talked about during the Zoom call. So.
Okay. And Jesse, don't you have a website?
Yes, it's www.financialdestinyinc.com. Absolutely.
financialdestinyinc.com. I'm going to put this information up at the end of our video here so people can read it, maybe pause it and copy down everything. And I expect your phone to be ringing off the hook, man. It may take a little while.
No problem.
we got to admit that we need your help. But I expect you to be able to touch some lives with this interview, and I think it's going to be a blessing. Well, my brothers and sisters, this is Mr. Jesse Gathewright. We're knowing the way. Thank you for your time, Jesse, and we will talk again real soon.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you again for listening today. If you have a question or comment, write to us at ktwm ktwm96@yahoo.com. That's ktwm96@yahoo.com. And please click the subscribe button to be notified of our new podcast episodes. You can also like, comment, and share on the Knowing the Way Ministries Facebook and Instagram pages. We would love to hear from you. So my friends, until next time, may God bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he grant you favor and give you peace in Jesus' name. And remember this, you are loved.